What's up guys, it's Davey. As many of you know, I'm a huge Batman fan, so of course I am super stoked to have the McFarlane DC Multiverse Batman 6-pack. Super excited to open it up for you guys and give you a quick review. So let's get started. So first we got to open up this box. Of course, this is the original McFarlane's box. And it's good to see there is a protective layer of cardboard on the outside, so that would protect it while cutting it. And look at that. There we go. All right, now this box is so big that it is hard to get the entire thing in camera, but there's a much better look. Of course, you have these symbols from all of the movies, the 6 movies that these figures are from. Nice metallic bat symbol right there. And we got the Warner Brothers 100 anniversary thing there. And of course, there's this amazing box art on the back, little display showing Gotham City. It looks really nice. And then down here at the bottom, it shows these cards that are included with the figures for each of the figures. They look all right, they look pretty cool. That one's a little goofy. However, the fact that they included regular Affleck is, a little misleading considering that is not the actual figure that we're getting. Let's go ahead and open it up. I believe it opens up like there. Oh man, look at that. Opens up nicely, has some Velcro on the side, shows the 6 beautiful figures, the stands, and the bat signal as well. I'll give a close-up look of each of the figures. All right, so here is a better look at the figures in their packaging. Of course, we have Michael Keaton looking very sharp. We have George Clooney, no, I'm sorry, that is Val Kilmer's Batman from Batman Forever. There's George Clooney with the good old signature bat nipples. Very cool looking figure. Of course, we have the Christian Bale Dark Knight Batman re-release. We have my favorite Batman, Ben Affleck, right there with a new head sculpt I'm excited to look at. And we have the Robert Pattinson figure. Of course, this is another re-release. However, they fixed some important issues on that. Of course, the movie logos are underneath each of the figures. Then we get a look at the stands, the cards, and there is the bat signal that I'm very excited to take a look at that as well. Now let's just go ahead and I will take out the figures and show you each one of them up close. All right, and so we'll go ahead and start with the less exciting stuff and just get them out of the way. So of course, as always, these figures come with little collector cards. Pretty typical, however, they do have this nice chrome metallic edge around it. The artwork, some of it seems to be a little bit better than others. I think the Batfleck one is a little odd, again, especially considering that is the incorrect suit, that is the BVS suit, and the figure is a Justice League suit. And I also think this one looks a little funky. I don't know, kind of looks like a weird computer-generated type artwork. Not my favorite as far as artwork goes. I think regular pictures from the movies would have looked cooler, but cards aren't something I really care about. Of course, I keep these. I can't bring myself to throw any of the cards out, but they're not really something that I do anything with. And then, of course, all of the figures come with regular DC stand for them to stand on. That is not surprising. Most McFarlane action figures do. And then now, much more exciting than those is the bat symbol. Or the bat signal, I should say. This is very cool. It, rotates up and down like this. It's got some gargoyles on it, a nice metallic gunmetal finish to it, and of course, it comes with different signals that you can swap out with. So, of course, this is from the Dark Knight. Then we have, this is supposed to represent Keaton, Clooney, and Kilmer's bat signal from Batman, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin, and Batman Returns as well. And of course, this is the newest one, the Robert Pattinson The Batman signal, and it's got those nice metal lines on it, or it's supposed to represent that. And then of course, we got the big boy, the Affleck logo from Zack Snyder's movies. So these look really cool, and of course you can swap them in and out. This also does turn on. I'm not sure if the batteries are currently in it. Okay, yes, the batteries are in it. Just had to take that little tab out, and so you can see it does turn on. Very cool. I've seen some people shine it against a wall to see if it actually works. Not super well, of course it's bright in here, but that's not my biggest concern, whether or not this lights up. I just think it looks really cool, especially with a figure standing next to it. You can go ahead and just pop in this guy next to it so you can get an idea of the size. Really good size compared to the figures, so this will look really good on display next to one of my Batman figs. All right, and now for the most exciting part, of course, is the figures. I'm going to start with the re-released figures, and then we'll move on and save the brand new figures for last. I know lots of reviewers like to show the articulation for each figure. I'm not going to go into that. My biggest concern when collecting figures is the detail, the sculpt, and the paint applications. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. I'm also planning on customizing most of these figures. Most of them is just simple paint applications, but I'll also go through and talk about what I'm planning on doing with each of those. So of course, we've got the Dark Knight Christian Bale Batman figure. Looks very nice. Of course, this is a re-release. The paint application is quite different, and of course, with all of these figures, we now have the cloth cape, which I have to say, I'm a big fan of the cloth cape. I know that is a matter of opinion, but I prefer it over the plastic ones. Even if they aren't the most accurate, they all have these large wing cuts in the capes, even though some of the Batman figures like this one don't really have it, but I still think it looks really nice. Compared to the original one, you can see where some of the differences are. Not too drastic, it is mostly just in the paint application. This one seems to have a little bit more of the lighter gray, but it's pretty similar. I will say, however, the paint application on the head of the older one, I think looks a lot better than the newer one. Might be hard to tell the difference. This one just seems to be a little bit more flat and pale, and on the older one just seems to be a little darker and have a little more depth to it. So it might come down to doing a head swap. My plan with this figure is to repaint it. Not repaint everything, but definitely darken up some more of the pieces, especially the boots, which I just think look a little too gray. So just touching it up with paint, but then otherwise I think this figure looks really, really sharp. And up next, we have the Robert Pattinson figure from The Batman. Of course, this is another re-release, but I have to say, I had lots of problems with the original figure that we'll look at in a little bit, and it really seems like McFarlane corrected pretty much every single one of my complaints. So I love this figure. I think this really just makes this whole set worth it just to get a better version. Of course, we got the cloth cape, but the paint applications really just stand out. It's got some nice texture to it. It's a little bit of a lighter gray, looks a little bit more worn and beaten up. And of course, here's the original figure, and this is where you can really start to see some of the differences. This guy had no neck whatsoever, kind of awkward looking. The collar is a bit too bulky, of course, because it's connected to the rubber cape. Not super accurate. The paint is very bland, no real details, and I did not like these hands. This one was just a stuck open hand, and this one is a little grabby hand. Looks super tiny, just kind of seem like they're out of proportion. Maybe not for human proportions, but for an action figure, does not look that good. This one, however, they clearly fixed the cape and the neck piece, and they gave him fists, closed fists, which I think look really good. Minor touch-ups planned for this one. Maybe replace the cape with a fake leather one. We'll see, not too worried about that. Overall, it's just really minor details that I'll want to change to this, but the overall paint application, especially for the gray bodysuit, looks really, really sharp. And up next, we have Batfleck, Ben Affleck Batman from Zack Snyder's Justice League. I gotta say, this is a beautiful figure. It is mostly the same as the old one that was released before, except obviously for the head sculpt. This is just the regular cowl, not with those ugly owl goggles. Sorry, just not a super big fan of those. So this is the third Justice League figure that I own. I owned the one that had the goggles down, and I owned the unmasked version with just Ben Affleck's face as Bruce Wayne. But so most of the figure is exactly the same, of course, with the change of the cloth cape. The old cape on the old figure didn't mind because there's actually a lot of beautiful texture in it, and I could show you that right now. So there is lots of really nice texture in this old cape, but of course I still like the cloth cape. That's just my personal preference. And I will show a comparison. Now please ignore the paint on this. All these gray paints and everything is something that I have started painting to make it a little bit more accurate. So that's not the same. This figure was originally painted almost exactly like this one. Just this silver seems to be a little bit brighter than on the original one, but I really like it. One of the big selling points of this whole set was to just get a better Ben Affleck cowl. I really like it. Of course, this is the Justice League version. The cowl is slightly different, but I'm actually planning on doing a head swap because I want to make the regular Batman versus Superman suit, and I think I want to use this cowl. I know it's not this exact right one, but it's an official McFarlane cowl, the best one that we have so far, and I'll just use the goggles version on this one. And of course I plan on just painting in the details, making it a little bit more screen accurate, but really like this. Really good likeness of Ben Affleck in that face. All right, and of course here we have the OG Michael Keaton. Now I gotta say, this figure and the next two figures looked really good on camera, but boy, they look amazing in hand, much better than I had thought. Now this is the third Michael Keaton figure that has been released this year. They had the one from The Flash, and then they had the re-release gold label one that came with the Batmobile. I don't own either of those, so I can't compare them. This is pretty much the same. This is exactly the same sculpt as the gold label 1989 re-release. The paint color on the belt and the symbol is just slightly different, but other than that, I believe it is the same. However, the old figure, I saw lots of people complaining about some of the colors in the body were more green or would become green over time, and this does not seem like it has that problem, so it's nice that they fixed that. Now, this has been a little controversial, the fact that McFarlane gave him a movable head, and it is not just one solid sculpt, because of course, as you know, Michael Keaton's neck and head were not able to move in the suit. So some people like that, some people don't like that. Was it the right choice for McFarlane to make? I think so, just because it would be harder for people to fix it if they wanted to move it. I think though that the one custom I want to do with this is actually sculpt onto the neck to give it just that signature Keaton silhouette where the head kind of just goes straight down into the neck. That might be controversial, but I just think it would really make this look even more accurate. And as of right now, it really does look amazing. The difference between the head and the neck is not nearly as noticeable in person as I thought it would be, but I still think we can make it look a little bit better. All right, and now here he is, bat nipples and all. We've got George Clooney from Batman and Robin. Of course, this is the first time we are getting this figure from McFarlane. I do believe they will be re-releasing it soon with an entire Batman and Robin line. Was just so excited to have this figure in hand. Obviously, the movie isn't the greatest, but I always thought George Clooney was a good casting choice, and given the right script, I think he could have been a lot better. But this sculpt is beautiful. The face, man, really looks like George Clooney, in my opinion. Just the musculature is sculpted so nice. It's just honestly really a gorgeous figure, an amazing sculpt. The paint is just kind of a typical just black straight through, and I think that's pretty good. I do think there might have been a better option, but we'll talk about that in a second. And last but certainly not least, we have the Val Kilmer Batman from Batman Forever. I think this is one of the biggest selling points from this collection, just for fans to get their hands on this beautiful action figure. Batman Forever, I think, is incredibly underrated. It was my favorite Batman movie as a kid. I loved watching it, and so honestly, the little kid in me is just so excited to have this figure. I think they did it really, really well. I think the face sculpt looks really nice, but the suit, the detail in the suit, it's just beautiful. It's so exciting to have this. And of course, this is the first time it's being released. Currently, there is not any news of them re-releasing this. However, knowing McFarlane, I'm sure they will, especially considering if you look in the back, they have a peg hole. Now, this is normally where the rubber capes go into, so this kind of hints that they're probably going to re-release it at some point with the rubber cape that he normally does, and hopefully he will release an entire line of Batman Forever figures, of course with Tommy Lee Jones Two-Face and Jim Carrey Riddler, because I would love to get my hands on those figures, and of course a Robin figure from Chris O'Donnell would be very cool as well. But this really is just a beautiful figure. I just feel super blessed to have this in hand right now. Now, the paint is interesting. It is a beautiful paint. It is a metallic, almost pearlescent dark blue. Really, really, really gorgeous color paint, but I don't know if it's the most accurate choice. There is one poster of Batman Forever where he is shot in this very harsh blue light, and that seems to be where they got this color from. But I don't feel it's that accurate to what the suit is in the movie. And just looking at pictures of the suit is just mostly black. And truthfully, I feel like this color would have been much more appropriate on the George Clooney Batman and Robin suit, because the Batman and Robin suit had much more blue in it than the Kilmer suit. And so honestly, I feel like swapping these colors would have been a lot more appropriate. I'm really interested in painting some blue on the Clooney figure to make it look a little bit more accurate. Now, whether or not I'm going to repaint this one black, I don't know. Maybe black could be more accurate, but this color is just so beautiful. That is just such an amazing paint that I really think I would have a hard time painting over it. Now, if they do re-release this figure, of course, maybe they'll change it, as McFarlane often does, and it would be more of a black color. But I gotta say, probably my favorite figure in this whole collection, although the other ones are really good. The Clooney figure is really good. But yeah, this Keaton figure, this Kilmer figure, really, really, really nice to have. Hey, so I wanted to interject here really quick. While editing this video, I noticed the amount of marbling that is in this paint or in this plastic, and looking at it up close, it does not look as good as I thought it did, especially above that eyebrow right there, that harsh line in it. Really doesn't look as nice as I thought it did, so I might repaint this actually, just give it a light black wash over it, hopefully to just darken it a little bit, and of course try to cover up those marbling mistakes in the paint. And there we have it. Here are all of the McFarlane Batman movie figures lined up together in all of their glory alongside the bat signal. Overall, this is an amazing collection. The brand new figures are absolutely beautiful, nearly perfect. The re-releases, I would say, are all a drastic improvement from the originals, maybe with the exception of the Dark Knight one. But the rest of them are just vast improvements. Super excited to have all of these in hand. Now, is this set worth it? Honestly, that's only something that you can answer. If you're able to pick this up at the original retail price for $120, which means it is about $20 for each fig, I think that is a pretty amazing deal myself. I really can't argue with that, especially if you're a fan of all of these characters. Now, if you want to be able to just wait and get them all on their own, that's possible. But again, the re-release figures I think are much better than the original ones. Now, I did not pick this up at retail value. I did buy this on eBay from a scalper. For me, honestly, it was worth it just to get it in hand. This figure sold out the pre-orders pretty fast. I know on Amazon, people are really getting a hard time. Amazon keeps postponing shipping them. So I'm just super excited to have these in hand. And if you're able to get them in hand as well, and you like this set, you like what you see here, then I encourage you just get it. And of course, if you want to see me customize these figures, I would encourage you to go ahead and give me a follow, subscribe to my channel, and you can see all of those videos. I will be dedicating a video to each of these figures and showing how we can just do a couple of minor tricks to improve those.